I want to talk today about a simple decision we can all make every day, often multiple times a day, that I think will have fantastic benefits for our health, and especially our children's health, for our community, and for the planet as a whole. And that is a choice of how we send our kids to school, how we make those everyday transport journeys, and decide how to move around. I'm going to start a little bit about myself and my personal motivations, and I'm hoping that some of you will find something that I say and that motivates me, which I hope will motivate you as well. And then I'll talk a bit more about broader benefits as well. But you can see on the screen here, there I am with my two little kids, and I am a father to two small ones who've not long started school. They're only 5 and 6 years old. And I have a very personal and professional interest really in walking and cycling. So I work for a charity called Sustrans, and we try to promote walking and cycling. We try to make it easier for people to walk and to cycle on their everyday journeys. And for me, that job wasn't an accident, because I've always had an interest in this. When I was a younger man, my uncle used to take me on walks in the hills. We're in the hills now, aren't we, in Nantymoel in South Wales, and we live in such a beautiful country. And we'd go to places like Ydwythfa or Cadair Idris or Penarvan, and we'd see wonderful sights. We'd taken our countryside. And I, from a young age, really felt the benefits of getting that fresh air, connecting with friends and family, being outdoors and walking. And then as I got older, I was very interested in cycling. And as a young man, I would often go racing on my bike. I would do holidays on my bike. I cycled from North Wales down to the bottom of Italy and back again when I was in my 20s. Again, a fantastic opportunity, met lots of people, was outdoors every day, and I, at the time, a young man, very healthy as well. So lots of benefits that I found personally, but it was something that I was really interested in, right? Really motivated in. And this is something that I want to pass on to my kids. So now I've got the young kids, right from the start, from an early age, I've made a decision that I didn't really want them to be driving to school. I wanted them to enjoy spending time with me, to go into school by foot or by bike. They're still learning to ride the bike, or especially, as you can see in the photo here, on their scooters, and they really love it. And I hope that comes across in that photo. It's easy to take a photo in just the nicer moments, isn't it? But they really do love it. And not everyone's the same, I know that. My own partner, when I first met her, she had a daughter already, my stepdaughter, who's a little bit older. And she would drive her to school. And I would see in the mornings, when I started dating my partner at the time, it was a 15-minute journey, and it was literally around the houses. There was a footpath which went down through some cul-de-sacs, through some little paths through the housing estate, and it was literally the same distance to go, or the same time, I should say, to walk it than to drive around the houses. And at the end, you didn't have all the hustle and bustle, and there was all these rules. Oh, the school says you can't, only teachers are allowed to park in the car park. You have to park in that space there, and this person's going to shout at you if you park in front of their drive. So for me, it was obvious then, and gradually, I hope that I've persuaded her a little bit. So you can see there, on my way to work, I'll often take the kids, and more now my partner does as well, although sometimes she still does like to drive. But when she does, the young girl there, especially my daughter, she'll often, either really or pretend to cry, because she really does love scooting. But I just want to talk now about, some of you might be in the same place as me, others might have a different background, a different view, and we all have different problems and barriers we have in our lives which inform our choices. I just want to remind us what some of the benefits are of walking and cycling. So the first one, and it's fairly obvious really, is the health benefits. So we know that the World Health Organization, it tells us that every day we should be doing 60 minutes of physical activity. And that's not easy to fit in all the time, is it, in our everyday lives? If you can fit that into your routine, literally, how you get to work, how you go to school in this case, that's a really useful way to do it. And for kids, we all know, they might run around in school, but at home they're more on their devices, they're less likely to play with their friends. Sadly, we need to look at that as well. But just giving that opportunity to be active every day at the start of a day is so beneficial, and a very good use of their time and yours, I think. But it's not just physical health, it's also mental health. So what we do know is that children who have a happy start to the day and an active start to the day they actually do better at school. They turn up at school, they're more enthused, they're happier, they've got a little bit more energy actually from having had that in the morning, and their learning outcomes are better. So we're giving them a really good gift as well, really, in both their learning development and their mental health by giving them that good start to the day, scooting, walking or cycling. So that's just on the individual level, really, but we can look at this and sort of frame it in many different ways. And the next way that I think is really beneficial is for our communities. So I mentioned I work for Sustrans. I'm also actually a counsellor in Cardiff, and I represent a community called Canton. And that is an inner city community. It's very dominated by housing, by cars. There's a lot of hustle and bustle. And what people say to me as a local representative on a daily basis, really, is that they're concerned about that. They're concerned about the road safety aspect. They're concerned about getting their kids to school safely, about finding car parking spaces, for example, about the lack of infrastructure for them to walk or to cycle. And as individuals, we can't solve all of that, but by making that individual choice not to drive, every single choice is building into a slightly better community. So I talked before about the hustle and bustle around the school gate, for example. If just 10, 20 people made that individual decision not to drive and to walk or cycle, that hustle and bustle, those problems, the danger as well is obviously it's reduced every time. And that's not just by the school gate, it's on the way to school as well, right? It's in our own streets, in where we live, the high street of the village, of the town where we live as well. So there's a real community benefit to making these decisions when they add up. And again, I want to go a little bit further. In my talk here, I've got to save the world. And all these things are connected, right? And we make the individual decision, it impacts our community as well. It's also having a global impact, because we know that driving a car is quite damaging to the environment. Transport contributes so much to the overall emissions that then lead to climate change. So, for example, if you decide, say you've got a 2-mile walk or cycle or scoot to school, if you were to do that round trip in your car every day across the school year, it's the same impact of having approximately 8 fully mature trees planted, or not planted but grown. So they sequester obviously a lot of carbon dioxide, those mature trees, and you can actually sort of offset that or have the same impact just by walking to school. And similarly, so we've all got different motivations and things which motivate us, and not everything we do is perfect, and we have to balance up all these different things. But if you wanted, for example, to take a holiday every year with your family and you wanted to fly, well, that short-haul flight, your holiday every year, again, it's about the same carbon impact about us making that decision on a daily basis to walk or to cycle to school. So big impacts, both from the personal to the community, to the planet. I've talked a bit about myself. I've talked about this sort of moral case. So I'm hoping it might motivate 1 or 2 people. But I know there's challenges as well. We aren't all the same. One of the biggest challenges we have is time. As adults, we're so time pressured. We're rushing here and there. You've got to take the kids to school, get to work. And sometimes it's just easier, right? It's that everyday decision we make to make our lives a bit easier. I'm going to just sort of play devil's advocate a little bit here and sort of explain to you a bit of an accounting trick about time. I've already sort of touched on this with exercise. Sometimes it's quicker to walk or cycle, believe it or not. It's not for everyone, but for some it is. I talked about my partner in that housing estate where you've got the little cut-throughs, the ways you can go where the cars can't go. Sometimes it takes you a long time to park, even to, again, going back to my community, I don't have it even to drive, so sometimes it takes me a while even to walk to the car where I left it the night before. And then when you get to the other side, you might not be able to find a space, the car parking space might be far from the school. So there's lots of things which go into driving, which don't go into walking, because it's literally door to door, it's point to point. So it's not always longer, and it's not as long as you think. But secondly, even if it is slightly longer than you think, what are you actually gaining from that time? As I mentioned, there's the physical benefit, we're supposed to do. The World Health Organization tells us 60 minutes of physical activity a day. So by walking to school, especially if you go with your kids when they're young and you're starting them off, you're you've got a double benefit there, aren't you? You're making a utility journey, you're getting them to school to learn, but you're also getting their exercise in. So you're really making a dual value of your time. And it's not just about exercise, is it? Because what is happening in that time as well? Well, you're actually with your child. So where we're all busy, we're all rushing around, of course, and we've got things we're doing at work, things with friends, things with family, but finding time with your kids is often the most important thing for all of us. It certainly is for me. So an extra 5 minutes, should it be 5 minutes or even 10 minutes, if it's spent with your kids, that's really important as well. And then just going back to my older stepdaughter that I mentioned before, the final thing with time, if you train them young, you teach them the route, they're safe, you're confident, you've done it with them for a couple of years, sooner or later they're going to start doing it themselves. So you start to get your time back then. If they're not actually being driven to school and used to that and being driven point by point, they can do it on their own. And you can make your own decisions then, not just purely based on your kids. So those are some things we can think about ourselves. I want to talk about a little bit that we can do together as well now, and thinking about making this easier, because we can't all make the same choice, and sometimes we do need help as well. You don't always have to do this on your own. It's the first thing to say. If your kids are young or going to school, a lot of us are fortunate. We might have grandparents, aunties and uncles, neighbours. The kids will make the friends in school. They might be our friends already. You can share this out. So you don't have to make that journey yourself every day. You can make a rota, take it in turns and collaborate that way. You don't even have to do it every day. That is ideal. Let's do it every day. Let's get our 60 minutes in every day. But this isn't an all or nothing thing. It's incremental. Literally every step we take is time with your kid, is exercise. So if you can only do it on a Monday, that's fine. Some people might be able to do it 4 days a week. Some people's partners could do it one day, them another day, the rest of the day. They may have to drive for the rest of their daily routine. It's better than nothing. There's no reason to feel guilty about that either. Another thing that some people do, they may need the car for their onward journey, but you don't have to drive to the school. You could drive part of the way, stop a few hundred yards from your school, and then spend that time with your kid. Get them used to walking, make it normalized to get to school on foot and to travel on foot, but your car's still quite close by to continue your onward journey. So there's lots of tips and techniques there. And then just beyond that, if you like, little tips and techniques and speaking to friends and neighbours and so on and so forth, the school can help as well. And we can do sort of organised things as a school community or as a neighbourhood community. So 2 things which I get involved in a lot in my community in Cardiff are bike buses and walking buses. So these are much more highly organised, usually with the school. It's very, very helpful if you've got strong leadership in the school who buy into the agenda, who want their kids to get there by walking or cycling. But it's also really important as well that parents are interested. You have volunteers who can really drive this and make it safe for the kids. So just to give you a flavour, for example, just on Friday last week, I was part of a bike bus from the middle of my community to the school. It's around about a mile. We had 6 or 7 parents who are a little bit like me, really interested in active travel, all on our bikes, and we had 55 people there in total. The adults were the marshals, so we were making sure that the route was safe, that the junctions were managed so that cars couldn't cut in front of the kids cycling, that the kids weren't straying over onto the opposite side of the road, and that they had fun. They'd like it anyway, but we were making it even more fun. One of our volunteers has got a boombox and was playing music, and it's a Welsh language school where mine goes, and we were playing like Calan Lan and Welsh language hymns and so on and so forth. And it was a great start to the day. Even beyond what I've said already of the benefits, it was almost like a party. So you're making it fun. Another thing which not necessarily the schools can do, but your local authorities can do, and which we're seeing more and more of in Wales, especially in Cardiff, is something called a school street. So this really bakes in that idea of the school itself is somewhere where you have to walk to, or you should walk to. And the school street means really that the school is the street on which the school stands is blocked off to motor vehicles at the start of school and at the end of the school day. So it's almost like a formal way of a lot of things I've said. It encourages more people to walk and cycle because it's slightly more difficult to drive. But even for those who do drive, that last bit of the journey, they have to walk. And in my neck of the woods, certainly in Cardiff, where we've got these, it's really encouraged the schools as well to set up the bike buses, to set up the walking buses, to make it fun, and to give kids and parents who are hard-pressed the chance to walk in a sort of coordinated and organised way. So lots of things to think about. I hope I've given you a few there that you can think about yourself, your own motivation, and things maybe to pester your school about and to pester your council about. But I suppose I just want to end up by reasserting a few things I've said. It's a simple choice. We have it every day, certainly for taking kids to school, but even for our other journeys as well. And I think deep down, a lot of us know it's good to walk, it's good to cycle if we can do it. Just sometimes just need to think about extra motivation. And I hope you can think back to this and some of those journeys, for your own health, for your kids' health, for your community, and for the planet, to leave the car at home and to walk or cycle a little bit more. Thank you.